So when I was an educator in the classroom, I was overworked, stressed out like many are today. And, the idea of taking care of myself was probably way down on the list. Welcome, everybody. This is Calvin Moore, CEO of the Council for Professional Recognition. And this is another episode of the Council Table. Our guest today is Ant Toombs. Many of you might remember Ant. He's being brought back by popular demand, one of our popular episodes from last season. I'm excited to introduce you to Ant. He is a founding member of Life is Good Playmaker Project. Ant, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
been?
I'm fantastic.
Listen, we are excited to have you back. Last season's episode was our popular one.
That's awesome.
I mean, by a mile, I think.
That's great.
There might have been a close second, but it was really exciting to see that people were really interested in what you had to say about trauma, burnout, but most importantly, wellness.
That's right.
And today we're going to talk about wellness from a different perspective.
Okay.
We're really going to talk about it in terms of whose responsibility is it for educator wellness? Can you start right there?
I can. It's a big loaded topic to start talking about, so we can begin right here. Whose responsibility is it?
Yeah.
It's everyone's responsibility.
Everyone.
Almost.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yes, I know it. Because oftentimes we want to point the finger as to who should be responsible for wellness. And it goes both ways. You have some leaders that show up and, as you mentioned, we talked about burnout the last time we were here. And if someone's showing up and they're supposed to be the leader and they are burnt out, they're not going to be able to cause positive impact.
Yeah.
So
true.
Oftentimes they are the direct service, superheroes that are showing up each and every day.
Right.
And they can also pitch up to leadership, to make sure that leadership is actually taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
Because, you can't spread what you don't have.
That's so true. I know for me, as a leader, I always assumed it was my responsibility. But I don't think I'm the typical leader. And I'm basing that on my experiences when I was in the classroom, right? I wasn't sure if my leader had my best interest at heart, especially where wellness was concerned. I always felt like as a classroom educator, wellness was my responsibility. Yeah.
That's a heavy load because you're showing up and you're offering so much of yourself each and every day as a direct service provider.
That's right.
And sometimes there's no time to consider what you need to do for yourself when you're giving so much of yourself.
Yeah.
So it does take a healthy reminder to make sure that you're engaging in the things that are important and that you keep the important things important for you so that you can keep showing up.
Yeah, and that's probably different for everybody, right?
It's definitely different for everyone.
I remember when I was in the classroom, and think about it. I think we talked about this last time, how difficult this work is. And I think people assume that it's not difficult, that it's easy work, that it doesn't take a lot of skill, that people may not need to be educated, right? They have a different idea about what it takes to work in the early childhood field. But what I know is that it's very strenuous. There's some physical demands, right? There's some mental and intellectual demands, right? And that the people you're impacting they have twice as much energy as you do.
That's right.
Right? A 4-year-old, absolutely 24-year-olds at that. There's the energy dynamic there that we have to appreciate.
That's right. And they're going to keep showing up with their energy.
Exactly.
And you don't know what you're going to get from day to day, too, because every household has its own culture.
That's right.
And then, the children are showing up and they're bringing that culture into the classroom. And sometimes those cultures are clashing. And they might even clash with your own personal culture as the leader, as the teacher, as the provider. There's so many different ways that we can slice that up. But again, if we're not taking good care of ourselves, we're not going to be able to give. And leaders often miss that boat. And I'm saying this wholeheartedly because, I know, and I talk to a lot of leaders who say, I got a lot to worry about myself.
That's right.
And then they have their own family. And then they got the demands that are being handed down from the higher up.
That's right.
And these things just need to happen. So
Make it happen.
make it happen.
Everybody's got that make it happen mentality that's trickling down from the top,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, the expectations on an educator are often not only misguided in terms of what's possible or what should be possible, right? But I talked to another leader recently in a previous episode, and they said that oftentimes, not only do we not have role clarity, that role clarity about what people should be doing is not agreed upon.
Yeah.
So if I'm an educator and I'm thinking it's your responsibility to make sure I'm well, and you're thinking it's my responsibility to be well,
Sure.
nobody's taking care of it.
That's right. And this is overt, in many different culture settings, education centers, programs, and so forth, and even home, childcare. Fortunately, what we can do is understand the message has to be for self.
Yeah.
Take care of numero uno, or you will not be able to show up to take care of others.
What is that saying? That the first law of nature is self-preservation.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I was reading a book by author Stephen Covey, and the book was entitled First Things First, and it's all about you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also had another book entitled Who's Holding Your Ladder? And it's oh, wow, so yeah, who's going to be responsible for you making sure that you're, engaging your total wellness? However, you have to prioritize it for self.
Yeah.
And by prioritizing it for self, if you're a direct service provider, you can remind your leaders to prioritize it for themselves.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, I'm thinking of myself, right? Because I'm leading folk. And I'm asking myself as I sit here and listen to you, am I really taking care of myself? Like, am I leading by example? Are you leading by example? I mean, because I think you'd be surprised at the answer. I mean, I'm thinking about my life and my family dynamics. I'm thinking about the late nights that I spend working. How much am I giving?
Yes.
Probably too much. It's probably not balanced all the time. And so if that's true for me, it must be trickling down.
That's right. That's right. I'm so glad you're transparent enough to mention that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of leaders are not. Because everything has to be well.
Yes.
But I tell you right now, if you're your truest, most authentic self, you can actually help, everyone else around you by being honest, telling the truth, saying what you need to do to make sure that you're taking the best care of yourself.
Right.
Those are the best reminders. More is caught than taught.
Oh, there. I remember that from last time.
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing that is unique about that is oftentimes we think we are well and we're not. Right? Because you get into this perpetual mode, got to get it done, got to get it done. I'm getting it done.
Yeah.
Right? But what is it costing me? What is it costing me to get that done?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can be taken out by that.
Yes.
I've been known to coach individuals out of particular positions.
Wow.
Because we recognize together that they're not taking the best care of self.
So you think it might be the job responsibility that pushes us to get into these areas where we're not well?
That's right.
You could be in the wrong job.
You could be in the wrong job. That's right.
Okay, my head just exploded. I think you said something that provocative last time. Burned in. Remember that moment?
Right. That's right.
Okay, so how do you coach someone out of position?
Yeah, talk to them about what they love. Help them remember their why they're engaged in the first place. And if the why doesn't align with now, then maybe there's something else that you can do to be the best self.
That'll bring you more joy.
That'll bring you more joy.
Yeah.
No one's joy is more important than yours.
Well, now, what if what you're doing used to bring you joy? It doesn't anymore.
Yeah, that's a tough place to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's some decisions that you can make. You can change the place that you're serving.
It might be the place.
It might be the place.
That's good, my friend.
Yes. And sometimes you might recognize that there are folks that are in the place and they are burnt in.
Right.
They're sticking around.
Exactly.
And they don't know what else to do. And you can help them by making sure that you're showing up with your greatest, most positive disposition and reminding folks, on a Thursday or Friday, hey, what you got planned this weekend? And helping them get back to the things that they love, in their own life. Because if you're filled up in your own life, when you show up to serve others, it's a little easier.
That's true. And if you don't really love what you do, then you can't ever do it in a joyful way. If you don't ever love what you do, because I think, who was that? What song is that Roberta Flack used to sing? Where's the love?
Where's the love?
I mean, because sometimes you can start out really having passion and joy, and there are things in the environment, which is what you're getting at, that'll squeeze the joy out of the work. So sometimes you can't stay in that situation. You've got to leave it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And some may be afraid to leave. You put all of this time and effort. Maybe you got a degree and you've been working in this way and you believe that this is the place that
you're supposed to be.
You're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it can be the assignment. And maybe it's not the place.
Or maybe it's seasonal.
Maybe it's seasonal.
And the season is over.
All things work together for good when you're up to some good.
Yeah.
And when you learn the lesson, maybe it's time to pack up and move on.
Wow, that takes a lot of courage, doesn't it?
It takes a lot of courage.
To know and to listen to your own inner self. And I was thinking about this. It's called mindfulness, right? This concept, I was preparing for this episode and I started thinking about mindfulness, and I wanted to bring that up because when I looked at, and there was a time when mindfulness was in vogue, right? A few years ago.
Sure.
Everybody was talking about it. I would hear people in sessions talking about mindfulness, but it's really being in the moment and being careful to reflect in the moment and don't just make a sudden move, but be thoughtful and be present about these moves and be intentional about your surroundings and being quiet. And I think sometimes when you're not joyful, there's a lot of noise. You're not able to be quiet and consider your next move.
You just said a lot.
Yeah. Mindfulness and wellness go right together.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And, I want to say something about mindfulness because I've been thinking and exploring mindfulness for a while now.
Teach us.
I totally agree with what you're saying. However, there's a play off of the word mindful. Okay?
Yes.
And I don't know about you all, but I don't need my mind to be super full.
Right.
I need my mind to be free so that I can actually be here now, present, engaging, and connecting.
There's a quote from The Matrix. I love the Matrix movie. There's a quote where Morpheus tells Neo, who needs to understand that he's the one.
Yep.
He tells Neo, I'm trying to free your mind.
Yeah, I remember that. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some folks are so full with everyone else's ideas as to what it's supposed to look like and how you're supposed to show up.
Yeah.
And how you're supposed to be. And no one can tell you how you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right. You have to make up your mind how you are going to be. And there's nothing more powerful than a made up mind.
And you don't have to use any energy to be yourself.
That's right.
No energy at all. You have to think about it, just being your authentic self. And maybe that's part of it, right? That we're so busy, right? Doing what everybody else has told us to do. And, an educator has all of these decisions they have to make throughout the day.
Sure.
Maybe their mind is full.
I believe it.
Or too full.
I believe it. I have a read I'm revisiting currently. And because I do that often. I have a read and you read it, and then I go back.
Read it again.
Yeah, it's a new meaning now after you have some experience.
That's right.
Digesting a thought or some ideology. And this book is by the T.D. Jakes. And the book is Disruptive Thinking.
Disruptive Thinking.
Yes. Disruptive thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been trained to think a certain way.
Yeah.
We've been trained that we have to show up, in this way and to be a certain way. But when you're really free to engage, connect, and explore, It's
You disrupt some
spontaneous.
things.
You disrupt things. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Do the thing that's right versus trying to be right.
So, Ant, whose responsibility is it for educator wellness?
I believe that it's everyone's responsibility first and foremost.
Okay, but if everybody's responsible for it, this is just my take on it. If everybody has this job, then I mean, from my experience, it doesn't get done.
True. That's what happens often. You show up and it seems like no one's leading folks to wellness. No one's guiding, no one's instructing, no one's giving permission for personal wellness and professional wellness for that matter. And someone has to take the lead. If I had to give it to someone, it would be the supervisor. It would be the manager. It would be the director of any given program.
Some decision maker.
Some decision maker.
Okay, I can go with that. But what if the decision maker is not keeping up with their own wellness?
That's exactly why I started with it's everyone's responsibility, because those in direct service positions may have the way. And if they have the way and they're showing up with their most positive disposition, they can pitch up to leaders as well. Because if you pitch up and you help a leader, remember their why, or, the whole point of offering wellness opportunities for staff, then they may miss the mark.
So what can leaders do? Do you have any tips for these leaders? I'm one of them. I'm listening.
Yes. It starts with self. I was reading a great book by Stephen Covey, First Things First. And the bottom line is, you can't spread what you don't have. And if you want your teams to be joyful, you want them to feel socially connected, you want them to engage, connect, and explore in the classroom, then we have to show up with the same traits as leaders.
Yeah, that's true. Not only can you not spread what you don't have, you can only do the best of what you know. And I think you're talking about a learning journey, right? Okay, it may be everybody's responsibility, but everybody's on a journey, and I've got to learn to do what may make me uncomfortable in the beginning, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes we forget about the essence of simply being, and then being the best self when I am simply being, because we get diluted with all of the different hand-downs that we have, the things that have to get done.
So, and I was in one of your sessions back at our last conference, EELC. And I'm not sure what kind of headspace I was in when I came to your session, but I was blown away. Before I knew it, you had us up, dancing, laughing, playing. That's what you're talking about, right? Because I think most of the people in the room had some leadership responsibility.
That's right.
So getting people out of their box, right? Doing some things they hadn't done before, dancing, laughing, singing. Is it really that simple?
It really is that simple. To actually get to doing it, though, is probably not the simple. That's not the simple part.
Yeah, because you could do it at a conference, but are you going to remember to do it like day to day?
And we all need healthy reminders from day to day. So to go back to the question and to re-answer the question, I know I came and I said, it's everyone's responsibility. But leadership has to take this serious. Am I providing wellness opportunities for my team? And am I taking the best care of myself? And if the answer is, well, no, I'm not taking the best care of myself, then the best thing that we can do is to prioritize self.
Yeah.
Take the best care of self.
So what have you seen leaders do? I'm sure there must be some good examples out there. As you've traveled the country and, you're talking to people, have you seen some good examples out there of people that are taking care of themselves and then spread that throughout their organization?
Absolutely. I worked with a great group out in Los Angeles, California, and you're familiar with this group as well under the Lake Oak organization.
It's not Plaza, is it?
It's Plaza.
Okay.
Yes, this is Plaza de la.
Okay, everybody, this is Plaza where I used to work when I was back in the young days, when I was young and had a little more energy.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I came through a little after you were there, obviously, but your name was ringing in the halls there. And there was an executive director who was just coming on when I partnered with them there. And this particular leader understood the power of playfulness.
The power of playfulness.
And she insisted that each and every direct service provider, including the family service folks.
Family advocates.
Yeah, FSAs were totally included.
Yeah.
To come out and to have an experience with play.
Because that'll get into the family.
That's right.
If you got the family advocates.
Well, you can't spread what you don't have.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was a sort of a full circle moment because I really enjoyed my time at Plaza.
Yeah.
And if any program could be successful, I mean, because that was in East LA County.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Place where play is needed.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that example. I mean, we should really, highlight those examples of people that really get it.
Sure.
Understand that it starts with the leader.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And more leaders need to partner up with leaders. As a matter of fact, I recommend leaders go on retreats with other leaders where they're allowed to simply
rediscover.
Yes. You took the words right out of my mouth because, you can't really teach them anything brand new.
Yeah.
I don't want to disrespect our professionals. They're professionals.
That's right.
And everyone has their own culture and they know what to do to take care of themselves. But am I actually doing it?
Or do I have the room and permission to do it? Yeah. Sometimes we get so busy that we forget the essential things. And I love the name of your organization. Life is Good.
That's right. The Life is Good Playmaker Project, though, doesn't insinuate that it's easy.
Yeah.
Doesn't insinuate that it's perfect.
That's right.
It's simply good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we can play, again, bringing back the idea of engaging, connecting, exploring with freedom, then I'm feeling it when I show up.
Yeah. I come with it with a whole different kind of perspective.
That's right.
So when it doesn't happen, I think what we're saying to our community of listeners here, not simply make it happen, but leaders have a responsibility to ensure that it happens.
And the best thing that a leader can do is to make sure you're getting it for yourself.
So, Ant, you said it's everybody's responsibility. And, I can buy into that a little bit, but I want to talk about my personal experience.
Sure.
So when I was an educator in the classroom, I was overworked, stressed out like many are today. And, the idea of taking care of myself was probably way down on the list. But more importantly, I'm not sure I received those kind of messages that you hear today about work-life balance from my leader, the one who was directing me. So I think more was expected of me, and so I gave more, not necessarily understanding this new concept that we hear today about you really need a balanced life. So much so that I probably never learned the lesson of how to take care of myself, right? And so now, 30 years later, I'm leading a group of people.
Yeah.
And I had to push myself to understand that not only do I have to take care of myself, I am responsible for everyone underneath me. And so that learning journey can be difficult and maybe a generational divide, right? What I've learned about people entering the workforce now is that they think a lot differently about work than I did when I was coming into the field.
For sure.
I mean, they don't have the same kind of approach to working, and they probably have a better perspective about taking care of themselves than even I did when I entered the field.
Yes, I see that. With young people, I'm a dad. So my youngest son's 24, and he's got friends. And I talk to those friends, and you're absolutely right. They advocate for themselves first.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like they get that piece. I can't continue to show up and offer myself to anyone else if I'm not taking care of myself.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept.
Yes. I think back to when I first got into the helping field, and I didn't know much about taking care of myself either.
Right.
But I was much younger. I was in my 20s, and I was closer to the population that I was looking to serve. I started working with teenagers, and realized that teenagers weren't playing enough.
Yeah.
And I know I had a great time just engaging, connecting, and exploring, but I didn't realize I was actually taking care of myself by doing those things, until I was reminded by someone else who was a professional that said, "Oh, Ant, you know what you're doing? Yeah, you're helping to restore joy. You're helping to bring people closer together. You're helping folks to feel safe and empowered." And it's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. I had no idea that I was actually doing so much for, emotional health, total wellness.
Yeah, I wrote a book.
I do know.
Find Your Happy. It
That's
actually
right.
was a series, right? So I understood a lot about what was broken on the inside of me, right? And wanted to share that with other people. And part of it is step one, loving yourself, really appreciating who you are,
Yes.
appreciating every part of you, right? And exploring those good parts.
Yes.
And from there, right, you can love God, understanding that there's someone bigger, something bigger than you, right?
Yeah.
And from there, practicing forgiveness, right? All of those are ingredients to finding that balance that we hope our colleagues around us find. So I think if we could find those answers for ourselves and spread it abroad, then everybody will have joy.
Yeah.
Right?
I believe it wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I mean, we talk a lot about happiness, but you don't need happiness. You need joy.
You need
that deep, abiding contentment, right? It is a self-discovery. It is everyone's own journey to finding their happy place.
That's right. However, everyone needs a healthy reminder.
Yeah, that's true.
So we can remind each other. And that's kind of where I started when I said it's everyone's responsibility to help with, our total overall wellness. But someone has to be responsible for making sure that the reminders go forward.
Yeah, I've been at the council for 5 years, going on 6 now. And I think I've really been intentional about helping my people find the right balance, right? Not that I'm not expecting excellence, right? But part of excellence is finding joy and passion and taking care of yourself, right? So helping people find that happy medium between working hard and playing hard. I'm not sure if I got the right mix, but I'm committed to it, right?
You take good care of yourself, though.
Most of the time.
For the most part. I mean, I know that you said it, that maybe I'm not taking the best care of myself.
Right. All the time.
But the way that you show up implies that you're taking good care of yourself. You know the differences.
Oh, yeah.
And each and everybody knows the differences as to what we need to do to take the best care of ourselves. But we're doing, and I believe this in my whole heart, that most people are doing the best they can most of the time.
Yeah, with what they have.
Yes.
Yeah. I think another key part is listening to your colleagues. I mean, I've done a lot of intentional listening because, I'm an elder at my place of work. And I think one of the best things that elders can do is to share wisdom, but also to listen, right?
That's right.
And I hope that people who work for me think that I'm an active listener, really listening to what makes them happy, what makes them tick, the resources that they need.
Sure.
Because that makes a difference as well. I mean, having what you need to get the job done has to lower your stress level. Has to. And I think that a good leader always listens to those around him or her.
Yeah, and to add to that, a good leader also knows how to respond.
Yeah.
Because you can listen and then walk right away.
That's true.
And not have heard it, and then do nothing to help the person who needs something to happen.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about leadership retreats, and I hope that is something that you at the Life is Good Playmaker Project are really thinking about, because leaders do need to retool themselves. I mean, we talked about the generational divide. I mean, there's something that the millennial can teach me.
Yes.
There's something that I can teach the millennial.
Yes.
I mean, there's always this, give and receive that I think is important in the workplace, but just in life in general.
That's right.
We can learn from the youngest around us.
You're saying a lot there, too, because a lot of leaders need to remember that we learn from the young. Think about how much we knew when we were young. That's how we became leaders. Yeah. So we have to listen to the young and try some of the things that the young people suggest.
That's true.
Those young folks are taking good care of themselves, and they'll walk away from your job.
Oh, yeah. They have a whole different perspective. I remember my daughter who just recently changed jobs. I mean, Think about it. I mean, think about how much stress, how much talking to ourselves we had to do to change jobs or change professions. And it seems like they don't have those kind of inhibitions.
They don't.
Yeah, they'll take a chance.
That's right.
They'll take a risk. And if they're unhappy, they'll do something about it.
Immediately. Right. That's a big differential with today's
Exactly.
generation and, our previous years and leaders.
Yeah, you calling me old?
I'm not calling you old.
You were trying to.
I think that's just
old. Okay.
The difference is you understand. You understand what's important.
I'm still learning, though. That's the key. I think I'm still willing to learn, and that's key. Some people are stubborn; they don't want to learn.
That's right. This is how we did it. This is how we always do it.
We've always done it that way.
Yeah, we've always done it that way. What do you mean we're going to go out here and play with the kids?
Right. Imagine that. Okay, so Ant, is there any last thoughts, anything that you want to share that you haven't shared so far?
Well, the one thing that I will share is, well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for having me back on the show.
It's been my absolute pleasure.
And engaging in this conversation. And, hopefully we can bring our strength and energy. This is what I really want to say to your listeners here, and leaders specifically. Do what you love and love what you do. And if you're not feeling fulfilled in everything that you're doing to create safe, loving, joyful, engaging environments for others, then make sure you're doing it for yourself. And if that means leaving the job, make room for someone else who is passionate. Okay? And I charge you to stay encouraged. We're in this thing called life together, and we're doing it one time. It's now.
So how can people get a hold of you? If they want to learn more about Life is Good Project and the Playmaker Project, how can they learn more about all the wonderful things that you guys are doing?
Sure, they can go right to our website. It's easy. We're easy to find, lifeisgoodplaymakerproject.org.
All right, you heard it here from the great Ant Toombs from Life is Good Playmaker Project. We're so thrilled to have you here. Thanks, Ant, for spending time with us. I know that you've enjoyed it because I've learned something today. Remember, there is room at this table for